I think you have to press, okay, got it. Is it another minute? We're on. Welcome back to another deep into the topic. Today we have a very special guest joining us, someone who is at the forefront of personalized educational consultation and career advice. I'm your host, Faya of the One ASEAN team. Without further ado, let's introduce our distinguished guest, a representative from RDS Education. Sorry, sorry. A representative from HRDS Education, a little tongue-tied over that. HRDS Education is dedicated to providing personalized educational consultation and career advice, guiding students towards their dreams and aspirations. It's an honor to have Mimi with us today. Mimi, would you like to introduce yourself and HRDS? Sorry.
No worries. Thank you for inviting me as a speaker. It's such an honor to be with your project. I'm Mimi. I'm one of the educational counselor and HRDS Education Services. So we specialize at providing individualized consultation to students interested in pursuing higher education studies overseas. So we basically assist students with application and post-application such as visa and accommodation to students applying to universities in the UK, Australia, and Malaysia. So basically we help from the start to the finish. So it's really nice to be here, and I hope I can provide some insightful information.
Fantastic. I'm sure you would. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's start with a question for our listeners. Have you ever wondered about the challenges that you face when assessing scholarship? Now, we'll be tackling this issue heads on. If you have any questions on this, please send in your concern, your questions to the QR code on slido.com. We will be going through your queries in the Q&A section later on. Let's move on to our next segment, our first segment, sorry. The main issue faced by our ASEAN youth today. So based on the research done by the One ASEAN team on different regions within the ASEAN countries, we found that there are a number of similar obstacles that the ASEAN youth are facing when it comes to scholarship and financial aid. So we've identified several crucial challenges. One of them is language barrier, limited information regarding scholarship opportunities, lack of guidance in the application process, insufficient essay writing and CV preparation skill, which is a requirement that is usually highlighted in a lot of these scholarships. Now, we want to break this down. And how do you think youth can overcome these challenges?
I guess it generally the main issue with those lack of information comes from the unequal access to the information. So what we generally need to tackle is to have an equal access to information towards higher education in general. So basically, the schools, because that's where the target audience are. So schools generally will need to start help students achieve the access to information. So this can be in the form of school visits from universities or governments that offers the scholarships, or even agencies or third-party companies. So they have to go to the schools because that's where most of the target audience students. So so they should be offering first-hand information regarding scholarships and improve the visibility of the scholarship being offered by this institution. So that's usually what the main issues are. There's not equal access to information regarding higher education. So yeah, educators plays a huge role in relaying this information to students. So teachers, school counselors, so they scholarships available or any financial aids available to the students. So at least the students will be more prepared in their application to higher education.
Fantastic. I think it's great. I know HRDS, part of your work is actually helping students, not helping them find education, but find scholarship, but you do help promote the scholarship of the university that you represent, yeah?
Yeah, so we help promote the scholarships that universities offers. We also help actually find scholarships that are not just from the universities, that's being offered by NGOs or by third-party companies or even by government. So we help students to tackle the preparation for it. So essay writing, the personal statement, and how you can actually achieve in getting that scholarships. Yeah.
And the education that you provide, it's free, or is it with some funds?
Yes, so we don't charge any fees for for an application to higher education, so it's free. And I think there's already also other education consultants like us in all over the countries. Yeah.
I think that's good. I mean, when we talk about limited access to information, when we talk about the internet, that's just, I'd say there's too much information, right? But I think streamlining which information you need that you require, that's the part that you're there for them, right? Helping them how to prepare for it, which scholarship they could look into, which one would be more suitable for them. I mean, personally, like one of the things that I also enjoy looking through when I'm trying to do research on scholarship. If you have HRDS, or similar educational consultation services within your area, please seek out to them, see what services they can offer you in terms of giving advice on scholarship and financial aid. Secondly, what I would do is I think embassies, yes, does an amazing job kind of helping to advertise the scholarship that's available with the country, right?
Yes, yeah. So embassies in their own countries, they definitely have a lot of scholarships being offered. They even help prepare for the scholarships and promote them. So even sometimes embassies will go to schools just to promote the scholarships. And that's what we need, those institutions to go to the schools where their target audience are, to just talk about the scholarships or the higher education field.
Definitely. I mean, I think when we talk about limited access to information, it depends on where you're looking at. Be mindful on where you're looking for information. Go for educational consultancy, such as HRDS. Go for embassies. Ask the Ministry of Education within your region for assistance on where can you get information on scholarship aid. Which brings us to our second segment, the awareness and available opportunities. Now, as we delve into the limited awareness and available scholarship opportunities, many ASEAN students aren't fully aware of the diverse scholarship and financial aid programs that's available. I was just talking to Mimi before this, how in Brunei specifically, a lot of our youth are very much focus on government scholarship, right? We don't really try to look at the different other scholarship from the university. Our focus is very much onto the government scholarship or shelf scholarship, and pretty much that's it.
Yeah.
You don't get that and you give up.
Yeah.
But there's so many scholarship out there open to all ASEAN students. Now, would you be able to share some scholarship or financial aid programs that are available for the ASEAN youth?
There's quite a lot of scholarships out there, and there's a mindset where if you want to apply for a scholarship, you have to have really good grades. That's really like most of the mindset of people. But there are other scholarships that's being offered that does not require to achieve like A stars or really good grades. Sometimes universities offers like a need-based scholarship. So scholarships where it's for a certain country. So certain for developing countries or someone with financial needs. So they do have those kind of scholarships. And sometimes they also have like student-specific scholarships. So if you're part of a minority group, they do offer those kind of scholarships. And if you're a woman applying for scholarship studying at a male-dominated industries, they also have scholarships for that. So basically, women in STEM, women in engineering, they also have scholarships for that. So there's a lot of scholarships out there that you just don't have to. You just have to open up to it. Like it doesn't have to be merit based. So just have a look at the scholarships that are being offered that might resonate with you.
I think that's something you never thought about,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there are a lot of scholarship, especially with the need for diversification. I mean, there are a lot of scholarship now that focuses on women, like you mentioned, women in science. There are scholarships specific to that because they're trying to promote more science within more women, within that industry. So, dig deep, think about the diversity that you represent, and maybe you could find a scholarship that is catering to that specific category that you are in, so that's also something that we should be open to. And I think when we talk about scholarship, aside from looking at government scholarship, because I think in every ASEAN region, the government scholarship is the first scholarship that you go to. You also have to be open to other forms of scholarship that you may find. Like I remember you mentioned the university may also provide some financial aid, right?
So universities also have scholarships. They may not be fully funded, but they also provide scholarships for students. Sometimes it's automatically considered. So as long as you have an offer to the universities, you are automatically given a scholarship depending on your grades, depending on the situation you're in. So the universities are very generous in giving scholarships. So even if you don't get the government scholarship, you can still try for other scholarship. Even companies, so for example, Maven companies, they also have scholarship for ASEAN students.
Okay.
So you can go look into other government, other agencies, in companies. Sometimes individuals have scholarships. So it would work together with universities to give out scholarships. So if you just look through universities' websites, they definitely will have scholarships catered to students, whether it be merit-based or student-specific based. So just do your research and just do your research and you will find a lot of scholarship opportunities.
I like it. You mentioned about not everything is merit based, not everything is about the grade, and we actually talked about that earlier, right? Some students can be at the top of the creme de la creme. They could be like A+, A star students, yet still not a scholarship, because sometimes it's about
your people skills. So mostly you just have to be confident in yourself. So your chances of getting a scholarship determined by the quality of your application. So even if you get A+, A star, if your essay writing or your personal statement does not convince the university that you deserve the scholarship, then they will not give you. So basically, the most important thing is how you how you sell yourself, basically. So how you sell yourself, how you convince the uni that you deserve the scholarship. So that's really the important thing when it comes to applying for stuff.
And that truly highlights equal opportunities. It's not just because top of your class, they're the top 3, 5, you can apply for a scholarship. Just because you didn't make the A grade doesn't mean you just give up on applying for a scholarship, right? Because it's not necessarily the only criteria that they're looking at. So don't be disheartened if you do feel that your grade may not be the best in within your peers. Still continue to try, which brings us to actually our third segment on the competitive advantage that you should work on to help you get more to increase your opportunity or your chances of getting the scholarship. So we know that there are various countries like Australia, UK, Korea, Japan, Germany, and many more countries that offer international scholarship. Now, how can the ASEAN youth gain a more competitive advantage in this competitive field?
Um, so those countries, sometimes they offer scholarship that's specific for ASEAN students. So that can be your option because you're just it's very concentrated into just Asian countries. So that can be your option to apply. Most of them are some not really a merit based. So as long as you live in the country, then you'll be able to apply for it. For example, I think Fulbright also have that kind of scholarships. But again, you just have to be confident in yourself. Basically, kind of have the thinking that you're better than everyone else, but not in a bad way. So you just have to be better than everyone else, and then that kind of increase the chances of you getting it. So you just have to apply as many scholarship as you can, and then and it's important to clearly communicate your motivations in studying at the universities. They just want to see a quality student. As long as you're able to show that to the universities, then you will definitely be able to get this.
And I think when we talk about competitive advantage, it's very common, especially for us in ASEAN. We always look up to educational institutes that are outside, the UK, Australia. We always think about all of these, Western university. But I know for a fact, because we had this conversation before, that there are a lot of universities within ASEAN themselves are actually also offering scholarship. Would you like to share more on that?
Yeah, so I think the ASEAN event for Malaysia, they also offer scholarship. Think if you for Brunei, they also have the scholarship for international students overseas. So you can go to University of Brunei Darussalam through scholarships, and they offer to actually anywhere in the world. Doesn't have to be ASEAN countries.
Okay.
So Brunei has that as well, and we actually can assist with students overseas to apply to Brunei Darussalam through the scholarship. Yeah.
So this is a Brunei scholarship that's open to the ASEAN.
Yes, ASEAN youth and international students. Doesn't matter if you want to do undergraduate or postgraduate. So Brunei does have that scholarship under Ministry of Finance, Foreign Affairs.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's also a lot of scholarships within ASEAN countries. Even if you, so for example, Malaysia, most of their private universities, they have transfer programs. So even if you study in Malaysia for 2 years, and then you get to transfer to universities in the UK, Australia, New Zealand. So there's that generally a lot of people would rather go to the UK, right? So if you just go to the Malaysia first, it's a bit a cheaper option, and then you still get to transfer to overseas universities. Yeah. So at least that can be other options for you. So you still experiencing university life overseas, not just in like ASEAN countries.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I think sometimes we're just so focused on just going for the Western scholarship that we forget that there are so many organizations, there's so many universities within ASEAN itself that's providing all of these different scholarships.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think you just have to open up our minds that Western there's also like scholarships within our own countries, and it's not that expensive as well. So just going to Western countries, it does, even with the scholarship, you still have to kind of support yourself. And it is kind of expensive to the Western countries. So at least with the ASEAN, within the ASEAN countries, you still be able to get a scholarship, and you still, some of the universities do have transport, and so you, what's the goal?
Yeah, so you have like a little bit of experience, maybe a year or two or semester in the Western.
Yeah, so, and you do, if you transfer to a university in the UK or Australia, you do receive the certificate of that university. So technically, you're studying in the UK universities in Malaysia.
I like that. I think in a sense, if you think it's too complicated to just focus on, going to the UK, have a look at that option, that different pathway, an alternate pathway where you could go from an Asian country going into the Western country, because there's option for that. So have a look at that, see what you can find in terms of scholarship option and within that pathway. I also like what you mentioned earlier about well-rounded students. I think we have this misconception. Again, I like to blame this because of Western culture. When we talk about well-rounded student, people always straight A students, yeah, really good in class, always number one. That I think we have that misconception. That's what a well-rounded student is, but that's not necessarily the case, right?
Yeah, so just because getting a straight A's is just like one first step getting into uni. The main step is just your communication skills, your leadership skills. That's what the uni wants to look at. Most of the scholarships being offered, especially fully funded, they would want to look at your leadership skills, your communication skills, your grades is just into getting it, and there will be interviews and they will see you as who you are as a person, whether you deserve the scholarship. So being a well-rounded person should encase of you being basically having the soft skills you need in the outside world, basically. Yeah.
Well, what would you advise to students? How can they, I know for a lot of us, again, our focus has always been on our grades, best grade, top in school. So how would you advise students? How can they be more well-rounded? What can they do now while they're still studying to when they start applying for scholarship? Those who are right now in secondary school or doing their O-level, A-level, or even primary school, what can they do today to make sure that they're well prepared and they're well-rounded once they start applying for scholarship?
I think you just have to be active in school. So you join all the societies that you have, sports societies. I think there's also like scholarships for sport related for curriculum. So just be active in school, join any societies, just get out of your bubble and try to be out there and basically improve yourself. Yeah.
I mean, one of the things I always advise my students is, especially when they're at the degree level or the diploma level, I always say when you have time, whether it's in between classes, or when it's the semester break, try to find time to do a part-time job.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Do you think it helps to do like a part-time, or do you think that helps them kind of with their leadership skill, kind of like with their kind of soft skills?
Yes, definitely. So working part-time, it kind of exposes you to the real
Yeah.
So you have to learn how to basically how to interact with people, and that kind of puts you in the spot where you have to develop kind of skills that is needed for university life or even in the workplace.
Yeah.
So that's what the uni wants, that you are not just bookworm, that you can actually communicate with people and work with other people and just have that leadership skills.
Yeah. I'm not saying that you shouldn't just focus on your grades. I don't mean, say like, oh, there's this woman on the podcast and like, I don't need to study anymore. I just need to be a social butterfly. That's not the case. It's just have a balance. I think a well-balanced kind of, activity and also schoolwork, what's constituted as a well-rounded student, right?
Yes.
Good. Thank you so much for sharing that. Moving on to our fourth segment. Let's focus on the solution now. We're here to inspire change and action. What strategies do you think? I know you're coming from a private sector kind of educational consultancy, but what do you think the strategies that government should think of and with in inclusion with higher education institute and also NGOs to help improve the access to scholarship? I mean, what are this? I know you mentioned that, going on school visits and everything, but what specific strategies do you think they can implement?
I think one of the strategies and the important thing to understand, like what I mentioned, is to know where the target audiences are. So which is school, colleges, or even universities. So it's important to know where your target audience. So it's basically a marketing tactic. So you have to know where your target audience are and start from there. So I guess the strategies that you can do is collaboration between school and higher education communities. So those universities can go over to the schools and host a college or career day. And that includes like giving information on courses or scholarships being offered by universities. At least the students will get to meet the universities face to face, understand that they understand that the information that they give are actually like legit, like it comes from the university itself, and they would have first-hand information regarding the university life, the courses being offered and scholarships being offered, and yeah, so basically in collaboration with the school, government agencies, higher education, or any NGOs that offers scholarship, because that's where you need to expose the students from the start regarding scholarships.
Definitely. I think it needs to be like it needs to sync, right?
Yes.
It needs to sync together. Like, what are the needs of, like, from a government perspective, we need to understand what are the needs within the country, and then from that offer, companies could start seeing which scholarship they would like to offer. Yeah. I also love it. We talked about earlier the roles of education fair. To be honest, like when I was a student, like I had to be dragged to education fairs.
Yes, true, yeah.
Because I really did not see the benefit of just what I did during education fair was collect freebies.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
That's
Students like
that's what I do. Like, I just collected pens and notebooks. But I know that's not why they're there. It's not to give me free gift, right? So would you like just to share with our audience, especially those who are like me, who hated going to educational fairs and had to be dragged, what are the benefits that they could reap from going to this educational fair?
because these educational fairs, the universities representative that is actually from the universities coming to visit this potential students, and it's really kind of like a privilege for you to be able to attend that. So this educational fairs, they actually help the students to recognize that there are other pathways for them, that it's just not a one way pathway. So going to the educational fairs, you will be able to figure out where you want to do in the future. These universities will be able to help you to figure out the courses that you can take with your grades, the courses you can take with the subjects you take. So those educational fairs are really useful in terms of where you want to go in your future. And they will definitely have scholarships available for you to ask them, or financial aids. And so educational fairs, it's worth going to. You will
It's
be
not just for the freebie.
Yeah. I have meet a lot of universities from overseas, and I think quite a lot of universities in the UK, Australia, and Malaysia, they do have this sort of thing. When I talk to the university reps from UK and Australia, they have like a month of trip in the Asian countries just to do career fairs. So they would go to Vietnam, they would go to Thailand, they would go to Malaysia just to do these career fairs and meet potential students and advise them on how they can get into the universities, because a lot of these countries, they have different types of exams. So these universities will be able to assist you on how to get into the universities with the exam that you have, with the results. Because usually UK, Australia, they always accept A-levels.
Yeah.
And some other countries, they don't have that. So at least these universities will be able to explain to you, like, what is the equivalent of that. So it's worth going into the fairs because you will receive a lot of information regarding the courses, if you're eligible for the universities, and sometimes being given offer straight away.
Oh, really?
Sometimes they do that, yeah.
Wow.
So you'll be able to know if you're eligible for the university, sometimes
Okay.
they can give out offers straight away. So it's really worth going to the education fairs.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And especially now with, virtual events being a thing, I'm sure there's now a lot of hybrid educational fair, but if you can't attend physically, because you might have obstacle trying to get there, maybe in a city that's far away from you,
Yeah.
there's always the virtual option where you could still reap the benefit of attending a educational fair without physically being there. Fantastic. Well, what a dynamic conversation it has been. Do you have anything you'd like to add on to that, just to round this out?
I guess when it comes to applying for scholarships or financial aids, I think you just have to stop doubting yourself and just apply to as many as you can. And even if it's not successful, you can still try again. There's no limit to trying a scholarship, even with age or where you are in your life, you can still apply for a scholarship. There's no limit to where you should be when applying to scholarships. So just apply whatever you want and just be confident with yourself. Like I said, just think that you're better than everyone. Yeah.
Be confident.
Yeah,
Be confident.
in a good way.
This is where ego is important.
Yes.
A positive ego.
Yes.
Have a positive ego at this point,
Yeah.
right?
So yeah.
So fantastic. So we've dived deep into the challenges where ASEAN students face in assessing scholarship. We've shed some light on how to overcome the limited awareness of certain scholarship, and we've discussed what we can do to gain a competitive advantage in the intense competition to gain a scholarship or financial aid. And we've looked at different strategies to help you for a brighter future. Now let's move on to our Q&A session. I hear that we have a number of questions being brought in. Okay. So if you have yet to submit your question, please scan the QR code or using slido.com using the code 1606264 to send in your question to our speaker. Now let's start with our first question at the very top. Which scholarship is better to apply for when planning to bring a family member?
For those kind of scholarships, it's quite rare to find. Most of the scholarships are only catered for the students. But most of the countries in the Western countries, especially UK, Australia, if you bring a family member, the family member can work at the countries that they live in under the dependent visa. So even if your family aren't able to, even if your family aren't included in the scholarship, they are still able to work and I guess fund your living cost in the countries that you want to go for. Yeah. So most of the countries they do have visas, dependent visas for family members to work.
It is beautiful. I think most scholarships do cater to younger single students with the assumption that they're still single without any dependents to bring them when they're studying. So it may be slightly difficult when you are bringing your family. You may not find a scholarship which can fund them or partially fund them, but maybe look into visa requirements of countries that may be more family friendly in a sense.
Yes.
That can allow them to come into the country and to also allow them to work, for example, to live there while you're studying. Moving on to our second question. Sorry, I have to go. Being accepted in a uni and have the LOA first, then search for the financial aids available, or secure the scholarship first, then choose the uni. Do you know what the LOA is? I know.
I think it's
Okay, that makes sense.
I think it's that one. So
I was thinking like a bank loan thing. Okay, so being so do you get accepted into uni first and then look for a scholarship, or do you look for a scholarship first and then get the uni? So what do you think? What would be your professional opinion on
depends
this?
on the scholarship that you're going for. So for university scholarships, you will have to apply first, get an unconditional offer from the uni without any conditions, then you can apply for the scholarships. So they need a proof of you given an offer, not acceptance, is an offer from the universities, then you can apply for a scholarship. But I think if it's government scholarship, I think it will be the same. As long as you have a letter of offer from the universities, then you can apply for the scholarship. It's the same for any other agencies, any other companies. They would want to see the proof of you given an offer. Because if you wait for until acceptance, it might be a bit too late for the scholarship. Most of the scholarship will probably already lapse the deadline. So it's best to do your research before you apply. And then once you receive an offer, you can start applying. Yeah. So yeah.
So ideally, try to get a university
Yes.
and apply for the
For
scholarship.
Trying to get the university first, get an offer from the universities, and then apply for the scholarship. You can research for the scholarship first, prepare for what you need, and then you just once you have the offer, then you can start your scholarship. Yeah. Just that's the important thing that they want, an offer or proof that you received scholarship.
I think that's a great topic because I think just sharing from a similar experience, not so similar experience, my own experience. I applied for the uni first.
Yes.
And the scholarship decision came very late. I just shared with you.
Yeah.
So what the great thing about university is they're very understanding. A lot of university are very understanding of your situation. So if you explain to them, oh, I can't join now because I haven't got information in my scholarship, they do allow you to defer
Yes.
or move on to the next semester,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. So some of the unis, I think especially Australia, they are okay with deferring 1 year. Most of the unis, because Australia, they have a lot of intakes, so you can go for January or February, March, or November intake.
Yeah.
So it's fine if you did not receive the scholarship, then you can just defer your studies and just wait for the scholarship to get.
Yeah. And I think another thing that you could look into is, have backup university. Do you think that's a good idea to have backup university just in case?
Yes, so if you're applying for like, I guess third party scholarships or like government agencies or NGOs, it's best to have like backup universities in case that the first university does not work out or the scholarship that isn't really accepting of that university. So it's important to have at least 2 or 3 universities as backup and actually talk to your sponsor or scholarship provider on the terms of which universities are being accepted by.
Yes. Because I understand, I know some scholarship are very focused on it has to be top 50, top 100 and so on.
Yeah, so it has to be like top universities. So do keep in mind top universities, those in the rankings, most of them are research-based universities, so they're in the ranking because of the amount of research they did. It doesn't really reflect their ability to teach. So it's mostly just because they're in the top universities doesn't mean that they're good at teaching. Yeah. So just keep in mind that it doesn't have to be the top universities. Especially like if it's NGOs like other agency scholarships, they don't really mind which universities as long as you receive an offer and it matches the terms that they want, then it's fine. Usually the top universities are always government-based scholarships. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Let's move on to our next question. Would you like to share your personal journey in getting scholarship for study and like what to consider? Thank you. So what would you consider your own scholarship journey or your own studying journey? How was that for you? And sharing?
Actually, my study journey when I was planning to do my degree in the UK, everything was handled by my education consultant.
Wow.
So the application, the accommodation, basically the application, just from the start till the end, it's handled by the educational consultant that I worked with. So basically I was only there to provide my personal statement. They also helped me with personal statement as well. But again, if you're doing it yourself, you just have to do your research on the universities that are being offered there. Mostly just focus on the courses that you do and then find universities for it. And just do your research on universities, because some of the universities they have different modules when it comes to courses that you want to go for. And then just do your research and make sure that it's reputable universities, not like, yeah, it's make sure it's a reputable universities, yeah. But my experience, it's a bit, I was not very involved in the application
But
process. So my
it's an
experience, yeah.
amazing educational services. They pretty much did everything. for you.
Yeah, so even visa, they did everything for me. All I had to do was just give my documents that they need, and then I got to the uni. Because I didn't remember at all my.
The flight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got applied, get in my uni, and then that's it.
But I mean that's great. I love how they have so much support.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that that's something some students are actually quite afraid. That there's no they don't have the support. They're afraid that they don't have the support when they want to go there. So having educational services to help you guide you through would be very helpful. I mean, just to share my own experience, because I went to the UK with a government scholarship. Now, with government scholarship, one of the things that becomes a focus is that the government would usually give you a list of pre-approved kind of subjects for you to take.
Yes.
Is it called pre-approved? It's not pre-approved, right?
It's more like a list of courses.
Yeah, that they want you to take, right? So if you focus on these courses, you're more likely to get the scholarship as opposed to as opposed to going outside of that list. So one of the main things that you have to do for government scholarship is check the list.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you don't go like, I want to be this. You check the government list first. What do they say you should be?
Yeah, yes, and you also need to check the requirements of the university.
Yes.
So it has to be, for Brunei is top 250 according to QS ranking. So you just have to check with the government's term of universities that they want. So that's kind of the important that you check. So basically just check what the documentation they need, the terms of the scholarships. That's the important one. It's the applying to the uni is quite easy.
It's the easy part,
Yeah,
right?
it's the easy
It's the
part.
scholarship part that's
Yeah.
really hard. And I think for me, when I was applying for my government scholarship, I was lucky enough to find that the course that I wanted to do was in the list. I mean, so for example, if a student was wanting to apply for a government scholarship and or whatever scholarship that has a specific topic that they have to go through, what if the subject that they wanted to go in wasn't in that list? What can they do?
It might be a bit difficult because maybe some of the courses is not of interest to you. Then what you need to look at is how the employability of that course. So that's the next thing that you need to look at. So you have to look at the courses that will give you employment opportunities. That would have a lot of job markets, not just in your own country, everywhere overseas. So have a look at the courses that will give you higher chances of being employed.
Yeah. And I think that's important. I mean, one of the things you can do is actually look at what is similar
Yeah,
to what you wanted to take.
yeah. That would be the best part would be choosing the course that you're interested in.
The ideal
yeah,
scenario.
Yeah, that's the best part. But if it's not available, then go for the most employable courses that you can find.
Yeah. So I hope that helps. Let's go for the next one. Some ASEAN students studying abroad tend to stay there permanently after graduation. What is your personal stand on this? I think that's quite subjective.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think from an educational service you can't really say much on that.
Say, I mean, it's honestly, it's basically on their personal situation. So if they want to stay abroad, the countries sometimes have like graduate visa or postgraduate visa where you can stay in the country for like 2 or 3 years to find jobs. I mean, if that is what you want, then that should be fine. Yeah, if just do whatever is good for your future. Yeah,
But I think we also have to consider the clauses within your scholarship.
yeah. So if you're applying for scholarships, if it's government scholarship, you're funded by the government, you do have to go back. But if it's the university scholarships or any other scholarship that does not require you to go work with the companies, then it should be fine for you to just stay there permanently.
Yeah.
After you graduate. So it depends on the situation of your scholarships and your basically your financial situation as well.
So I think you have to be mindful. I mean, there's nothing wrong with staying permanently in the country that you are studying in, but be mindful how that may impact the bond or the criteria of your scholarship. If your scholarship requires you to come back to the country and work for a specific government or a specific organization, then, legally you would be advised to come back and follow the contract that you signed up for. But if there's no limitation, there's no kind of obstacle that requires you to come back, then the world's your oyster, right? Moving on to our next question. I got accepted in several universities in Australia. The problem is I do not have a scholarship. What are the options for students like me? So you're looking at specific scholarship within Australia.
Australia, I would say, in my opinion, is one of the countries that is very generous in scholarship. So they have Australia Award scholarships that you can apply for. Think if I can recall, it's fully funded. So you can try to look into the Australia Award scholarship, but I think they do have a deadline or specific dates that you need to apply to. Some of the universities do have scholarships that you can apply for. Sometimes they have like scholarships that automatically being considered. So just have a look. Do have a research on the universities that you have an offer or you have got accepted in. See what the scholarships are being offered by the universities, because they definitely have a lot of scholarships. They're very generous.
That's a great news for that question. There are a lot of opportunities for Australia. So I think, if you're in Brunei, reach out to HRDS. They may be able to help you with that. If you're not, maybe have a look at the Australian embassy.
Yes.
Within your region.
Yeah, and have tried to reach out any other consultants that's similar to HRDS. They definitely will have information regarding scholarships that's available in universities or any other agency.
I think that's the next step with all the acceptance that you have from Australia. Moving on to the next one. Are there any fully funded scholarship to study master's or doctoral for ASEAN students in Brunei Darussalam?
If I can recall, I'm not sure if the scholarships that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs have are for undergraduate or postgraduate. But if you go through the universities in Brunei Darussalam, they do have probably information on scholarships being available. But we do help students with the application process, the overseas students with the application process to University of Darussalam or University of Technology in Brunei. So I'm not sure. I have to check if it's for postgraduate, but I know it's for undergraduate students to study under Ministry of Foreign Affairs scholarship in Brunei. Yeah, they do have that, but I have to check if it's undergrad or postgraduate.
With that, HRDS Educational Services, you can find them on their Facebook, on their Instagram. Maybe drop them an email. Ask them specifically whether it's fully funded. Maybe if you have a course in mind or a university in mind that you want to study, maybe they can help guide you through any fully funded scholarship that's available. Going to the next question. Why do you think there's a lack of awareness among students regarding available scholarship opportunities?
I guess it comes to what we said just now, the lack of information being offered, because I think anywhere in the country there's always been a differences in social background. So students in a disadvantaged social background have less access to that, especially so students in state schools would have less access to this kind of information. So mostly the main reason for the lack of awareness among students is because of the unequal access to information towards higher education.
So I think, we've discussed this earlier, like there's different ways in terms of overcoming these issues. Talk to educational consultant. I think at the end of the day, the internet is there, but there's too much information. So reach out to the parties that can help guide you to the correct information.
And most of the educational consultants I need other countries as well, they don't charge for anything. They definitely will not charge for any of their services. So just have a look at, just reach out to the consultants in your own country of any higher education studies.
Let's go for the next one. How do these scholarship-related issues impact the academic and career path of the ASEAN student? I'm not quite sure about this question. Do you understand? The very top, how do the scholarship-related issues impact the academic and career path of ASEAN students? I'm not quite clear on that question.
Scholarship related issues impact the academic.
Yeah.
I guess basically, the unequal access
Hmm.
to the information. Students wouldn't know of any, so students who are not aware of information regarding higher education are not actually exposed that they can do beyond where they are now. So that actually impacts their academic and career pathway. So if they don't have the information that they can go for this pathway, then they will just stick to one, and that might not lead to where they want to go in the future. So the dissemination of information is really important, because that can help kind of motivate students to work to achieve where they want to achieve. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Do we have time for one last question? Okay. Does your organization offer scholarship education consultation for people outside of Brunei Darussalam? Asking HRDS specifically.
We don't offer services for students overseas. If the student is living in Brunei, it doesn't have to be a citizen of Brunei. If the student is currently living in Brunei and requires help with studying overseas, yes, we can help them. But we also help students overseas applying to Brunei Darussalam. We only help applying to Brunei Darussalam, not applying to any other countries. Only citizens living in Brunei. Yeah, only the people living in Brunei.
I guess it helps with the scope, because different educational services and different countries have different requirements.
Yes,
Applying for different.
yes. So to
scholarships.
reach out to your country's educational consultant, they will definitely be able to help.
Fantastic. Let's take one last question before we end today. This very specific one for nursing degree. For nursing master's degree, what are the available scholarships to apply in Southeast Asia? Any recommendations? So it's actually not not asking for a Western scholarship, but an Asian scholarship. Do you have any that you may be able to suggest?
Available scholarships to apply. If nursing health related courses are quite hard to get scholarship because of how because of the what do you call it, placement involved in it. So it's quite hard to get scholarship, but there's definitely at least like not fully funded scholarship, maybe just like a discount to your tuition fees, scholarships available. You can have a look at universities in Asian countries that offers them. So if it's really subject specific, then it's best to look at the university that you want to go for. They definitely will have scholarships available. So if it's related to course, like specific course related scholarship, then have a look at the universities. Yeah.
So would it be like a more specialized type of nursing? The likelihood is there may be, not confirmed, but there may be more scholarship options if it's very specialized.
If it's yeah, the thing with health is it's really hard to find a scholarship, because medicine definitely there's no scholarship for them. So health related, you just have to look at the university itself, because some universities might offer scholarships for them, some universities might not offer any scholarships. So do research on universities in Southeast Asia countries that has a nursing master degree and see what are the scholarships they do offer. It's definitely not going to be fully funded. It's at least like 5% or 25% tuition fees.
I mean, that's the thing, like when we talk about scholarship, it's not necessarily all funded by the pay for your ticket. And we have to be open to the idea of also, accepting scholarship that's partial.
Yeah, partial scholarship, like this, mostly scholarship. Yeah.
I mean, that's why I think for a lot of student visa, they allow you to work to help you fund the other half that you're not being paid for. Now, unfortunately, we're running out of time for the Q&A session, but don't worry. We'll have more opportunities for interaction in the future. I'll be sharing your questions with HRDS for them to answer back, and we will be posting those on our social media. Thank you so much, Mimi, for an engaging discussion. Now, it's very crucial that we continue to address these challenges, to work together to create an equitable educational opportunities. On top of that, we also like to thank our partners here from both Thailand and Malaysia, including HRS Education from Brunei, for helping us bridge this gap to bridge the gap for those who do not have access to this information. Thank you everyone for joining us in this insightful discussion. Thank you HRDS Education so much for sharing your insight on the topic and for joining us here on our 5th episode. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today's episode. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. Stay tuned for an engaging discussion on the iSEAu social media. Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and continue to make a positive impact on the world of education. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye. You're still on. But thank you so much for joining us.
So much for having me.
Yeah, I think it's very important for people to know the scholarship opinions. Sometimes we just think only scholarship.
Yeah.
Because I know like there's also organization, even university, they do fully funded scholarship. It's more tough.
Yeah.
But it's that,
Yeah.
right?
It is there. You just have to find it.
Yeah. I think that's where the issue